Hello everyone, welcome to the lecture 1 of Employees Benefit. In financial reporting, this topic is covered in unit 3. Okay, now listen very carefully everyone. This is a very difficult and theoretical chapter. 80 to 90% is theory in this chapter. Now, had it been offline exams, then you all would have been very lucky. Then this chapter would come in option of earning per share, which is a very simple and easy chapter. You have already covered that. But the problem is, now in online exams, they are going to give you questions from all the chapters. So this topic, which is really very difficult, okay, even chartered accountants syllabus, when it is covered, students find it difficult doing the course of CA. For you people, it's going to be very difficult to understand the theory. So what I am going to do is, I am going to make you write the things in simple language. Instead of reading from our study material, which is hardcore accounting standard language, I will be making you write the things in simple language, and then you read the study material and you'll be able to understand after that. Okay, once the concept is clear in simple language, when you read the study material, you'll be able to understand what it is trying to communicate to you through that, or convey to you through that particular sentence or paragraph. So every one of you, take out your notebooks, give this heading. Each and everything what is covered in this slide has to be written by you in the notebook. I repeat, each and everything covered in this slide has to be written by you in the notebook. Okay, so employees benefits. To start with, first we understand what are employees benefits. Even this you have to write it in your notebooks. MCQs can come from any corner of the study material. But if you write the things in simple language, you'll be even able to answer those MCQs also. So first you write in the notebook, what are employees benefits? Wherever you think, you can pause the video and write it down. If you feel I'm going a little bit fast, you can pause the video and then you can write it, and then you can again play it. Now this definition of employees benefits you'll find on page number 2 of your study material. Okay, page number 1 of study material I'll be taking up later on. Applicability of the employees benefits I'll take later on. First we understand some basic concepts only. So what are employees benefits is covered on page number 2 of your study material. Now, employees benefits. So all of you have to make this diagram. Employees benefits, all the forms of considerations. Okay, employees benefits means consideration. Consideration in business law, you studied something in return. Employees give us the service, so we give them something in return, which is called consideration. Okay, employees give us the services, they work for our organization, we give them something in return, which is called consideration. So all the forms of considerations, okay, in the same manner you write it so that it becomes easily understandable. Now, all the forms of consideration means they may be monetary or they may be non-monetary. Okay, the consideration, the amount which we give to the employees may be monetary or it may be non-monetary. How come? Monetary means all the allowances you studied in income tax in the last year. All the allowances, dearness allowance, house rent allowance, conveyance allowance, transport allowance, medical allowance, children education allowance, hostel expenditure allowance, so many different types of allowances you studied in the last year. All these you pay in money, you pay in cash. So that consideration, something in return which we give to the employees, may be monetary, which are called allowances, and they are in cash. They are given directly in your salary and they get transferred to your bank account. And non-monetary are generally known as facilities or perquisites. So one is medical allowance. The second is they don't give you medical allowance. The company has its own hospital or has tie-up with various hospitals. They give you medical facility. Whenever you fall sick, free of cost, you can go and get yourself cured with the doctors prescribed by your company. That is non-monetary. You don't get money, but you get the facility of treating yourself when you fall sick. Same way, house rent allowance, that is monetary. The company gives you cash, you find the place on your own, and then you pay out of that the rent of it. Maybe you land up paying more, maybe you land up paying less. But non-monetary means the company provides you the house itself. In its own society, in its own colony, company gives you a quarter or a house to stay. That is non-monetary. So employees benefits will include all the forms of consideration. Okay, whether monetary or non-monetary. Monetary are generally called allowances and non-monetary are generally called facilities or perquisites. So facilities or perquisites include what? Traveling facility, tour facility, education facility in company's own school, medical facility, house facility. All these come under facilities and perquisites, non-monetary benefits. Now, both of them, whether monetary or non-monetary, are given by an organization either directly to the employees or their spouse or their children or any other dependents, parents, mothers, grandfather, grandmother, grandchildren, brothers, any other dependents. Okay, so this benefits, monetary or non-monetary, may be enjoyed by the employee himself or their spouse or their children. Okay, club facility in the society of the company may be enjoyed by spouse also or by children also. Education facility may be enjoyed by children or any other dependents. Okay, so it may not be necessarily directly given to the employee. It may be indirectly given to anyone related to employee also, like spouse or children or other dependents. So this is the definition of employee's benefit. You'll remember and you write it in the same manner in your notebook. All the forms of considerations, whether monetary or non-monetary, given by an organization directly to employees or their spouse or children or any other dependents. I hope everyone is clear with this employees benefits concept. Now, employees benefit, as such, if you remember, in profit and loss statement and several other accounts where we have studied, we used to have this head of expense, and we used to write generally salaries, wages, bonus, commission, then at the most contribution to provident fund, etc. in that. So the same thing we are going to discuss in this chapter in detail. But there are a lot of complexities in accounting. So that results because of the nature of various types of employees benefits. I hope everyone has written this. Otherwise, you can pause the video and write it down. Going further, we understand who is an employee. Now, employees benefits we have seen. The benefit given to an employee by the organization. Now, who is an employee? Now, you may be asking or considering that as a silly question. Who is an employee? All of you know who is an employee. Employee is a person who is working in an organization, who is serving in an organization. Okay, but accounting standard defines it. Okay, we are studying this all as per accounting standard 15. Okay, accounting standard 15. Employees benefit is covered under accounting standard 15. So as per that, who is an employee? Write this same way in your notebooks. There are two types of contract an organization can enter into. Okay, contract means agreement. There are two types of agreements or contract an organization may enter into. First is contract of service. Okay, or you can see of is written in capital letters. Write it the same manner. The second is contract for service. One is contract of service. The another is contract for service. Now, what is the difference? Contract of service means contract to obey the orders given by the employer. You are having a contract of job, of employment, of service. Okay, so what is that contract of service? Appointment letter. You are given an appointment letter by the organization where they give you your job profile, and then after that, whatever is included in your job profile, you have to obey the orders given by the employer, day-to-day instructions given by the employer from time to time within the work profile agreed between you two people. So contract of service means it's a contract to obey the orders given by the employer. Whereas contract for service means what? Contract for rendering services which are generally professional in nature. Okay, contract for service means the contract for rendering the service which is generally professional in nature. Understand it with the help of an example. Suppose we talk about a chartered accountant. Suppose we talk about a chartered accountant. Now, if that chartered accountant is working as a manager in your organization, then that is called contract of service. Whatever work you give to that chartered accountant, maybe writing of accounts, maybe checking of accounts, maybe inspection, maybe cost department, maybe handling the company law affairs, whatever work you give, tax affairs you give to that chartered accountant, he has to obey the orders given by you, by the organization, because he is a manager in your business. But if the same chartered accountant is working as an auditor, then he is not your employee. Then it is a contract for service. He is rendering his professional services of chartered accountancy of auditing and inspecting your books of accounts as per the company law. So there is a difference. You can clearly differentiate now manager and auditor. Who is an employee out of these two? Manager means the one who is having a contract of service. Who is not an employee over here? Auditor. Okay, that is the contract for service. He is giving you his professional services. He will come for some specific number of days in your organization, check your books of accounts and go. He is not supposed to follow any orders which you give, any instructions which you give. So, employer-employee relationship exists when there is a contract of service, and employer-employee relationship does not exist when there is a contract for service. So who will be considered as an employee? This manager will be considered as an employee, means the person who is having a contract of service with the organization. Okay, so who is an employee? Any person who is having a contract of service and which creates employer-employee relationship between the organization and that person is called as an employee. Okay, everything written on the left side is belonging to an employee. So how would you define who is an employee? Employee is a person who is having a contract of service with the organization. He has a contract to obey the orders given by the employer, and there is an employer-employee relationship between that person and the organization. Okay. Now, right now you definitely understand, but in exams what will happen? You'll get confused. Off and forward, you'll get confused. Which one was employee and which one was not an employee? Off and forward. So I have made a trick to remember that. How to remember? The word off indicates employee or the word for indicates employee. I have given a trick to that. Remember that. Off means you remember our force, our workforce, our team force. OF, our force, our workforce, our team force. So wherever the word off comes, our force, he is an employee. He is the part of our team, he is a part of our workforce, he is our employee. And for means you remember from outside resources. F, from, O, outside our resources. From outside resources means he is not our employee. He is not our employee. He comes from outside resources, comes and gives us the services and goes back. So very easy. Whenever you get confused in exam, which one was an employee, of or for service? Then you remember of, our force, our workforce, our team force. So he is our employee. And for, from outside resources, he comes from outside resources. He is not our employee. So this will very easily help you to remember in exams whether contract of service is an employee or contract for services is an employee. I hope all of you have written everything what is there on the screen in your notebooks. Do write it down, otherwise pause the video and complete it before we proceed further. Also, one more thing, I'll be taking up with practical questions at the end of this lecture which will be related to the concept we studied in the accounting standards today. So practical questions will also be covered at the end of today's lecture. Okay, understand the things very carefully therefore. Now, types of employees benefits. This you have to write in your notebook. It covers page number 2 and 3 of your study material. Okay, types of employees benefits are discussed on page number 2 and 3 of your study material. All of you write this diagram in your notebook. There are 4 types of employees benefits. So make this diagram. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 to ka 4, 4 to ka 1. There are 4 types of employees benefits. Okay, first one is called short-term employees benefits. Write it down in your notebooks. Everyone must be writing it. Second is called post-employment or retirement benefits. Third is called other long-term employees benefits, and fourth is called termination benefits. Okay, so there are 4 types of employees benefits possible: short-term employees benefits, post-employment or retirement benefits, other long-term employees benefits, and termination benefits. Now, what are these 4? Short-term employees benefits means they are payable within 12 months. Okay, they are payable within 12 months, but within 12 months from when? This is very important. Within 12 months from the end of the current period. Understand this? Current year is 21. Now 21-22 has started. April is going on. 21-22 has started. So current year is 2021 and 22. When will 2021 and 22 end? 31st March 22, I repeat. When will the year 2021-22 end? The ending of financial year 21-22 will be on 31st March 2022. Count 12 months from that date. Okay, 12 months means it must be counted from the end of the year. So 31/22 plus 12 months, 31/23, 31/3/23, 31/3/22 plus 12 months, 31/3/23. So from now, from this April 21 onwards, anything what is payable by the time of 31st March 2023 will be considered short-term employee benefits. Because when we present the current year's financial statement 21/22, we are going to give it to the shareholders on which date? 31st March 22. So on 31st March 22, any benefit which is payable after that within the next 12 months till 31st March 2023 would be considered as short-term employees benefits. So this 12 months are to be counted from which date? This 12 months are to be counted from which date? From the end of the current accounting period. From the end of the current accounting period. So if current period going on is 21/22, then what is short-term employees benefit for the year 21/22? Anything which is payable by the time of 31st March 2023. Okay. So short-term employees benefits means payable within 12 months, but further you must mention from the end of current period. Payable within 12 months from the end of current period. Post-employment or retirement benefits, no need to understand. Post-employment, after retirement. After your employment is over, after you leave the organization, you retire from the organization, then whatever benefits we give to you, even though you are not an employee of the company, but still we give you benefits after your retirement, they are called post-employment or retirement benefits. We'll see with the examples obviously, okay? But there is no meaning to understand it. Post-employment or retirement means the benefits given to an employee after employment is over or after the retirement. Other long-term, now long-term, short-term means what? Payable within 12 months. So what is long-term? Payable after 12 months. But after 12 months from when? After 12 months from the end of the year in which the accounting period gets over. Okay? 12 months from the end of the year in which the accounting period gets over. So keep this in mind everyone. Okay? Short-term employee benefits payable within 12 months from the end of the current accounting period. Long-term benefits payable after 12 months from the end of the current accounting period. Termination benefits. You understand what is termination? Dismissal, removal, leaving the organization. So the benefits which we have to give to the employee when they are terminated or when they leave the organization are called termination benefits. Okay. So these two, post-employment and termination benefits, are clear from the meaning itself. But short-term means payable within 12 months, long-term means payable after 12 months. But this 12 months are counted from which date? From the end of the current accounting period. I hope everyone is clear with this. Post-employment or retirement, the benefits given to the employee after his retirement. Termination, the benefit given to the employee when he leaves the organization or when he is removed from the organization. Now let us understand the examples of each of them. Short-term employees benefits are like salaries, wages, bonus, commission, allowances, perquisites, monetary perquisites, non-monetary, profit sharing, etc. All this, if they are outstanding on 31st March and we have to pay them in the next 12 months by 31st March 23, they will be considered as short-term employees benefits. Then post-employment or retirement benefits. Okay, one more thing. Short-term employees benefits does not cover employee stock option scheme. Okay, keep this in mind. Means if any shares are given to the employees at a reduced rate, shares of your own company, own organization are given to the employees at reduced rate, that is called employee stock option scheme. They don't come under short-term employees benefits. Mark it, very important from MCQ point of view. Note it down in your notebook somewhere that short-term employees benefits will not cover employees stock option scheme. It can be asked in exams. It will cover salaries, wages, bonus, commission, allowances, perquisites, profit sharing. But which perquisite is not included? Employee stock option scheme perquisite is not included. Now examples of post-retirement or employment benefits are like pension, gratuity, provident fund. This all we have to give to the employees after they retire. Okay, so even after retirement, company has to continue to pay to the past employees also. They are called post-employment benefits. Other long-term benefits are like example, sabbatical leave. Now what is this sabbatical leave? Understand it. Sabbatical leave means the employee goes on a leave for a fairly long period of time in a manner that when he comes back, it will benefit to the organization itself. Okay, I repeat. You go on a leave for a fairly long period of time, but in a manner that when you come back, it will benefit the organization itself. For example, suppose you are working with a bank, and then bank gives you 3 years of study leave to do MBA with IIBM, Indian Institute of Banking and Management. To do MBA with that bank gives you salary also, and they tell you, you go on 3 years leave. We will sponsor your studies for the next 3 years, and after you come back, you will work with us only. This kind of leave is called sabbatical leave. Okay, so what is a sabbatical leave? You go for a leave, you go on a leave for a long period of time, but for the benefit of organization itself. So generally, if you go on a travel, you go on a tour, many times, like research companies, you go on a travel, you go on a tour. Company says for the next 6 months you go on a tour. You keep on traveling, you keep on touring, you take your family members, enjoy, have a luxurious life. But simultaneously, everywhere you keep on noticing what new things are taking place, so that research is taking place, and then company can introduce some new product in the market. So this type of sabbatical leaves company do give to their people, to the family members. If you are working with Discovery Channel, they give you sabbatical leave. They say go to the jungle for the next 6 months. Travel across various jungles and try to find. You enjoy, you have a luxurious life. You go to the jungle, stay in high-end luxury resorts over there nearby. But then you simultaneously, when you visit it, when you come back, it will benefit to the Discovery Channel itself. So these are the few examples you can understand that sabbatical leave means you go on a leave for a long period of time. But when you return back, the benefit of that leave will be going to the organization itself. Disability benefits, they are also long-term benefits. Disability means during the work, if you meet with an accident and you become disabled, then company has to give you the salary, they have to take care of your financial security, family members, etc., because you have given fairly long number of years to the company. So disability benefits will also come in long-term benefits. I hope everyone is clear with that. Termination benefits. Now termination means there are two types of termination. One, you leave the organization for your benefits. Second, company removes you. You leave is voluntary. Company removes you is dismissal. Both come in termination. So VRS means voluntary retirement scheme. I repeat, VRS means voluntary retirement scheme. You leave the organization voluntarily, company gives you the compensation for that because you have been working for a long period of time, and company's salary expenses also will be reduced. Generally, VRS means company only gives the scheme of VRS. If company wants to reduce its employees force, then company offers VRS scheme so that you can leave, you can take some lump sum amount from the company, and even if you want, you can work somewhere else. Second is retrenchment, means removal compensation, dismissal compensation. If company removes you, company dismisses you, then next 3 months, 6 months, some amount of compensation company has to give you to depart from you. Okay, as per the Industrial Law, Disputes Act, Industrial Workers Act, company has to give you the compensation if they remove you without any proper reason or proper any cause, or even if they remove you with any proper cause, they have to give you the compensation until you find the job with any other employer. So all these are termination benefits. Now, from accounting point of view, you all have to remember that post-employee employment or retirement benefits and other long-term employees benefits, accounting is going to remain same. So now when we study the accounting part, we have to study only for 3 categories. Accounting is to be studied only for 3 categories. How to do the accounting in the books of accounts for short-term employees benefits, how to do the accounting for post-employment or retirement and long-term benefits as a one category, and how to do the accounting for termination benefits. So only 3 categories we are going to study when we do the accounting, because for second and third type of employees benefit, accounting remains same. All of you must have written this, otherwise you can pause the video and write it down. Now going further, we understand the accounting part. Today we will take up the accounting of only first topic, short-term employees benefits, and then we will take up with its questions also. After we understand the accounting part of short-term employees benefits, we will look at the questions of short-term employees benefits also. Okay. This will cover on page number 3 to 5. See, today's lecture we have covered 5 pages of your theory. It's very complicated theory. You all can read it now. You'll understand how complicated it is and how simple language I have explained you the same. So from page number 3 to page number 5, Point number 15.3 and point number 15.4 are entirely covered in this coming slides. Okay, look at it. Accounting is to be done on accrual basis. Accrual basis means whatever belongs to current year has to be recorded as an expense of current year, whether paid or not. That is, it should be recognized, or recognized means recorded as an expense as and when the employee render the services. So if they have rendered the services in current year, but you'll pay them the amount in the next years, then still, even if you pay them the amount in next years, you have to do the recording it as an expense of current year only. Now you may feel that why will we pay them in next years? If they are serving in the current year, obviously we are going to pay in current year only. No, it's not like that. Bonus. Bonus is given after the year is over, you compute the profit, or maybe in bonus you have a condition that if the employee works with you for 5 years, then only we will start giving him the bonus, but we'll give him the bonus for all the past 5 years. So maybe in the next year that 5 years are going to get over. So now it becomes a short-term employee benefit because you have to pay it within 12 months. But you have to pay it in future only once he completes that term of 5 years period. So it is not necessary that the amount of current year you pay in current year only. You may have to pay that in future also. You all have studied leave salary in income tax, leave salary. So leave salary, if you accumulate that for 3-4 years and then you take that leave in the 5th year, since you are accumulating the leave of current year, it is an expense of current year, even if you take it after 3 years. So accrual basis means this year's expense is to be taken in this year only, even if we actually pay that expense maybe after 2 years, 3 years or 4 years. And in practical life, in case of companies, this is very much possible. Expenses belong to current year, but company may be paying that amount after 3 years also, like leave salary. Expense belongs to current year, but a company may pay it after 5 years, like bonus. Why after 5 years? Because bonus condition, he has to work with you for 5 years, then only he will be entitled to get bonus. So there are many such employees benefits possible which belong to current year but may be payable in the next year or next to next year or even next to next year. Okay, but we have to record them as expense of current year whether paid or not. So accrual basis means it should be recognized as an expense as and when the employees render the services. Current year expense should be debited to current year only whether paid or not. Now, if it is covered by Accounting Standard 10, then it is added in the cost of assets. What is Accounting Standard 10? Property, plant and equipment. Accounting Standard 10 is property, plant and equipment. In that we studied a point that if it is a self-constructed plant and machinery, building, fixed asset, anything, self-constructed, then whatever employees are working for the construction of that asset, that employee's benefits, salaries, wages will get added in the cost of those assets only. Okay, those expenses will get added in the cost of those assets only. So that accounting is not to be done as per AS 15, what we are studying right now. That accounting is to be done as per AS 10. You have to add it in the cost of assets, and as you do the accounting for that assets, you have to follow AS 10. So if any employees' benefits are covered under AS 10, means if any employees are involved in construction of self-constructed fixed assets, then those employees' benefit will be treated as per AS 10, not as per AS 15. Now, if amount paid is less than the benefit, then obviously difference is recorded as a liability, means it is outstanding. So benefit is more, but amount paid is less, means you're going to pay it in the coming years. It is your liability, it is outstanding. If amount paid is more than the benefit, then the difference is recorded as an asset, it is prepaid. If you have paid more than the benefit, means you have paid the money in advance. It is a prepaid salary, it is a prepaid wages, then that will be recorded as an asset. Okay, all of you must be writing these things in your notebook. No actuarial gain, no actuarial loss. Now what is this actuarial gain or actuarial loss? Not actual, the word is actuarial. See the spelling carefully, A-C-T-U-A-R-I-A-L. It's not actual, it is actuarial. Now what is actuarial? Understand? Actuary is a, A-C-T-U-A-R-Y. Actuary is a technical person. Okay, he is a technical person who estimates in which year which employee will retire, die, leave your organization. He has those skills. Like in case of life insurance companies, there are actuaries who estimate and provide to the company which policyholders will die in which year, or based on the profile of the policyholder, he may meet with an accident in which year, or maybe based on the profile of the policy holder, when will the policy be withdrawn by that person. So actuaries are mainly hired by such life insurance companies to find out the mortality rate, which person will withdraw the amount in which year, etc. Same way in case of companies also we require the actuaries. Why? To find out after 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, which employees will leave the organization, which one will work till retirement. So accordingly, gratuity and pension can be calculated. Which employees will leave in the current year itself. Okay. Now here we are doing the accounting for short-term employees benefits. So if any employee leaves in the current year, then obviously current year, whatever spell of time he has worked with the company, that much expenses only to be recorded. So actuaries actually come into force when the long-term calculation is to be done. Means how many employees will retire after 5 years, 7 years, who will leave the organization after 5 years, 7 years, what gratuity pension should be provided for these employees. There, actuaries come into force. The job of actuaries comes over there. Means in short-term employees benefit, we don't require actuaries services. We will require actuaries services in which type of employees benefits? Long-term employees benefits. Actuaries services will be required in which type of employees benefits? Long-term employees benefits. Therefore, in short-term employees benefits, there is no actuarial gain, no actuarial loss, because there is no estimate done by actuary. In long-term employees benefits, you'll find this. He makes an estimate, that estimate goes wrong. Either you land up paying more or you land up paying less. Accordingly, there is an actuarial gain or actuarial loss. But in short-term employees benefit, actuary gain is also not there, actuarial loss is also not there. Further, no need of discounted, undiscounted basis. Now in time value of money chapter in financial management, you have already studied discounting concept. Discounting means what? Converting future value into today's value. So if after 5 years you are going to receive 10,000 rupees at 10% interest, what is its present value? You studied this type of questions. That is called discounting. In short-term employees benefits, discounting is not required because the money is payable immediately. Within 12 months means the money is payable immediately. So we don't find out that after 1 year, if you are going to pay 1,000, today's value we take 1,000 only. Yes, but after 5 years, if we are going to pay 1 lakh, its today's value is not 1 lakh. It may be 60,000 or 70,000. But after 9 months, if you are going to pay 1 lakh, its today's value you can consider as 1 lakh itself. So here converting future value into present value is not required because it is short term, payable within 12 months. So these are the benefits. There is no actuarial gain, no actuarial loss, no need of discounting. So very simple accounting, accrual basis. Even if the money is going to be paid after 2, 3, 4 years, but you have to treat it as expense of current year. If it is covered by AS10, then delete as per AS10, add it in the cost of assets. If amount paid is less, it is our liability. Amount paid is more, it is our asset. All of you must have written this, otherwise you can pause the video and write it down. Proceeding further, short-term benefits, employees benefits accounting, short-term compensated absences. Now, very heavy words. Short-term compensated absences. What do you mean by this? 4 big words. Short-term compensated absences. Leave salary. Simple language, it is leave salary. But leave salary which is payable within the next 12 months. Leave salary which is payable within the next 12 months after the end of current year is over. Short term. Short term means within 12 months. And what do you mean by compensated absence? Leave salary. You have taken leave, but we give you salary. You have taken the leave, but we give you salary. That is called leave salary, compensated absence. Now, how to deal with that? There are 2 different types of leave salaries or short-term compensated absences. One is accumulating, the other is non-accumulating. What is this accumulating? Suppose company allows you 20 days of leave in 1 year. Casual leave, I am talking about casual leave. Okay, casual means you are not feeling nice to go today, you don't want to work today. Company has allowed you 20 such days out of the working days in a year, that if you don't feel, you may not come. If you want to attend any social gathering, if you want to attend any social function, party, etc., you want to go for a family touring with your family members on their birthday, anniversary, etc., you can take leave up to 20 days. Okay, if you take less than 20 days leave, say 15 days, 5 days you did not take in current year, then what happens in accumulating? You can accumulate that 5 days leave and take it in next year. So next year you become entitled to get 20 plus 5, 25 days. Now suppose next year, again out of 20 days, you take only 8 days leave, 8 days. So 12 days accumulate of second year also. First year 5, second year 12, 17 days accumulate. Means in the third year you can take leave for how many days? 20 plus 17, 37 days. This type of short-term compensated absences are called accumulating compensated absences. And what are non-accumulating? Forget. Take it or leave it. Take it or leave it. This year 20 days leave is allowed. If you take 15 days, forget 5 days. Next year you will get the leave for only 20 days again. You will not get for 25 days. Okay. So there are two types of short-term compensated absences, accumulating and non-accumulating. Within accumulating, there are further two types of short-term compensated absences. One is vesting, the other is non-vesting. Now, what is vesting? Vesting means giving. Vesting means giving. Giving what? Cash. So, this year, if you have taken 20 days leave, 15 days leave, 5 days accumulated. Second year, if you have taken 8 days leave, 20 days accumulated. Third year, you can take cash for that 17 days leave if you are in need of money. Company will pay you cash for those 17 days in the third year if you want it. Otherwise, again, you can accumulate it for further years also. But whenever you want, you can encash that. That is called vesting. So what is vesting type of compensated expenses or compensated absences? Encashable. They are encashable means you can take money against those leave. Okay. And you have studied this topic in leave salary. Leave salary taken in cash or accumulated. Okay. And we have studied how they are exempt also. If you take it in cash, how they are exempt. If you don't take it in cash, how they are exempt. So encashable. Vesting means encashable. You can take money against the same. And non-vesting means not encashable. You have to utilize the leave or it expires. So that 17 days in the third year, you have to utilize it. Company will have some time frame. Up till this time frame, maybe if after 5 years your 100 days leave is accumulated, doesn't mean that for next 3 months you will not go to the company. So company will have some time limit. In the next 3 years, 4 years, if you don't take the leave, it will expire. So non-vesting means either you take the leave or it will expire, but you will not get cash against that. You will not get cash against that. So these are the types of leave salaries, short-term compensated absences, accumulating, non-accumulating, and vesting, non-vesting. Okay. Now, how to do the accounting for this? How to do the accounting for this short-term compensated absences? Today, we are going to take practical questions based on this concept, so understand it properly. Okay. How to do the accounting for this? Listen. Non-accumulating means no separate provision is required. Non-accumulating means you'll forget it, take it or leave it. So if against 20 days you have taken only 5 days, 15 days leave, 5 days you have not taken, forget it. For the company, the expense is only 15 days leave. 5 days leave, company will not account in its books of accounts. Company will account only for 15 days leave. Why will the company account for 15 days leave? Because they are paying you the money. You are not coming to the company, but they are paying you the money. It is an expense for them. So they will record those 15 days amount also as an expense in the books of accounts, even though you have not come to the organization. But 5 days they will not do accounting. For that 5 days they will not do the accounting, which is not accumulating. Further, measurement of cost of compensated absences. Okay, remaining vesting and non-vesting accounting we discussed in the past slide, that you have to record it as an expense of current year only, even though you are going to take the leave in the next year or next to next year. Okay, that we discussed in the past slide, that even if you take the leave in the coming years, you have to record it as an expense of current year only. But what value? You have to record it as an expense of current year, but what amount? Measurement of cost of compensated expenses. What amount have you to record it in the current year? In case of vesting, only encashable component of salary is recorded. Now, what do you mean by encashable component of salary? Suppose you earn salary of 1 lakh per month. How much? 1 lakh per month. But that includes 70,000 basic salary, 10,000 dearness allowance, so 80,000. Then 5,000 of medical allowance, so 85,000, and 15,000 of perquisites. Perquisites like house accommodation facility is given, traveling facility is given, car facility is given. So it comes to 1 lakh. Now, Out of this 1 lakh, if I ask you, what is the encashable component? What money do you get in cash out of this 1 lakh? 70,000 of basic salary you get in cash? Yes. 10,000 of dearness allowance do you get in cash? Yes. 5,000 of medical allowance do you get in cash? Yes. But 15,000 of facilities do you get in cash? No. So when we count the expense of current year and record it in P&L account debit side, which amount we will record for this 15 days leave which he has taken, not 1 lakh. We'll calculate it on the basis of 85,000, because in future, whenever we give that money to the employer, we are not going to give him 1 lakh, we are going to give him 85,000 only. So if the short-term compensated expenses of which type? Vesting type. So if the short-term compensated absences of vesting type, then whatever is the encashable portion of your salary, means salaries plus allowances, perquisites are not to be included. Okay, salaries will be included, allowances will be included, perquisites will not be included. That portion will be debited to P&L account as an expense for those 15 days. But if it is non-vesting, then total estimated salary in the year in which employee is expected to take leave has to be recorded. Now here estimate is required. Estimate on the basis of past pattern and experience, company estimates that this employee will take this leave. He will, whatever is accumulated leave, he will not come to the organization. He will take those 17 days leave in the 4th year. Then in the 4th year, he will take 17 days leave. You have to estimate that today his salary is 1 lakh. Then after 4 years, what will be his salary if we give him the increment? Supposedly, it comes to 1,30,000 after 4 years. Then considering that 1,30,000 of salary after 4 years, what will be the amount of those 17 days or 5 days leave which he has not taken in the current year? Those 5 days leave, considering the expense of 1,30,000 after 4 years, will be debited to P&L account as an expense in the current year. Okay, so total estimated salary in the year, company has to make an estimate on the basis of past experience. Company has to make an estimate, whatever is his total estimated salary in the year in which he is expected to take the leave, that amount is to be treated as an expense of current year. So accounting, we have already seen how is it to be done. You have to debit it into P&L account of current year, whether the money is paid in the current year or not. If it is non-accumulating, forget it. No recording is to be done for the days which is not taken. But if it is accumulating and vesting, then whatever is the cash part of the salary, that only is to be recorded as expense of current year. If it is non-vesting, then you have to estimate the salary of that employee in the year in which he takes leave, and that amount is to be debited to P&L account of current year. I hope everyone is clear with this. So very complicated point, but I have explained you in very, very simple language. If you read this point number 15.3, 15.4, it will be your complete headache. You'll go to deep sleep for 14-15 days. You'll directly go to quarantine for the 14-15 days. But I have explained in very simple language. Go through this properly and then you read it. You'll be able to understand what they are trying to say. Going further, 3 more points are discussed in 15.3 and 15.4. Profit sharing and bonus plans, unutilized employees benefits, and interim reporting or short-term employees benefits. Okay, after this, we'll take up with practical questions. Now, what will you do with profit sharing and bonus plans? See, I already told you bonus means company may have a condition that if employee works for 5 years, then only we will give him the bonus. So in that situation, what will you record as an expense of current year? In short term, you'll record only if that bonus is payable within the next 12 months. And there is a complete possibility that employee will remain with the company and company will have to pay the bonus. Then whatever is the percentage of profit given as bonus, that you have to record as an expense of current year itself. So if the employee has worked for past year and there's a practice of the company to pay the bonus, then it should be debited as an expense even if not paid by the end of the year, because is that term of 5 years are still remaining. So that term is going to get over in the next year, means you're going to pay him the bonus in the next year. But you are quite sure that is going to continue, then you have to debit that as an expense in current year only based on the percentage of profit decided as bonus. Unutilized employees benefits. Unutilized employee benefits are like medical care, leave travel. Okay, leave travel means many times company gives leave travel for 4 years. For 4 years you can accumulate and then you can go to one nice vacation, total accumulated leave travel. So you can go to foreign country also, because every year if you utilize that leave travel, then amount is limited. So if 50,000 is given every year, then in 4 years 2 lakhs get accumulated. So after 4 years, you can make a bigger trip, nice trip with that huge accumulated money. So if it is unutilized and you're going to take it in future, so medical care, leave, travel, etc. to be carried forward must be debited to expense of current year, even though carried forward to further years. So again, company has to make an estimate that this employee will take this leave travel after 2 years or 3 years, and at that time, whatever is the expense expected to be incurred related to current year, that much you have to debit to the expense of current year. Interim reporting of short-term employees benefits. Now, interim reporting chapter, we have already done interim financial reporting. We discussed that every quarter integral approach, except a discrete approach is to be followed. Okay, discrete means every quarter is to be treated independent. So whatever rules you follow in annual financial statements, same rules you have to follow in interim report. Here also the same thing appears. Short-term employees benefits are those benefits which become payable within 12 months after the end of the year. So same principle should be applied in quarterly statements also. It means all the short-term employees benefits taken in annual statement must be taken in interim statement also. So same rule and principle is to be followed. So if you are talking about 21-22 year, then whatever employees benefits you are expecting till 31st March 23, you will record it in every quarter of 21-22 in interim financial statement. In every quarter you will record that. Okay. Now questions. All of you look at page 21 of your study material. We take up with the practical questions. Okay, on short-term employees benefits, page number 21 of your study material. Look at question 1 in that. XY Limited has 100 employees. Each employee is entitled to 10 days sick leave each year. Unused sick leave is carried forward for 1 year. Underline this, carried forward for 1 year, and above that write short term. Since you can carry forward the unused leave for 1 more year, it is a short-term employee benefit. An employee avails the carried forward leave only if the current year's entitled falls short of the leave he or she requires. Means in the next year you are allowed 10 days sick leave plus if you have carried forward this year's sick leave. Then let us say 5 days you have carried forward. So in next year you can get 15 days sick leave. But when will you utilize this 5 days? First you will utilize that year's 10 days. After that, if you need, you'll utilize this past year's 5 days leave. On 31st December 2019, the average unused sick leave is 2 days per employee. So 100 employees are there, and on an average, every employee has taken leave for around 8 days. On an average, I am talking about. On an average, every employee has taken leave for 8 days. 2 days are unused. The management, based on experience, estimates that in the year 2020, means next year, only 10% of employees will use 1 day from their carried forward leave. See, these are all non-vesting types, and we discussed in the past slide. Okay, we discussed in the past slide, that is, if you see this one, we discussed over here. Okay, we discussed that in non-vesting, you estimate the salary in which the employee is expected to take leave. Did we discuss this or not? See the right side, okay, non-vesting type. So same way here the company has made an estimate. Okay, in the same way here the company has made an estimate. What estimate? The management, based on experience, estimates that in the year 2020 only 10% of employees will use 1 day from their carried forward leave, and the rest of the employees will not require more than 10 days of leave. So how many employees are there? 100. 10% of those employees, 10 employees. They will take 1 day leave, means 10 days leave. So from the current year's accumulated leave, how many are expected to take in the next year? 10 days. How many days are expected in the next year to be taken by the employees as a leave? 10 days. I repeat, how 10 days? 100 employees are there. 10% of that 10 employees. And every employee is expected to take 1 day of leave. See clearly, only 10% of the employees will use 1 day. So 10 employees into 1 day, 10 days. Means 10 days leave which belongs to current year will be utilized in the next year. 10 days leave which belongs to current year will be utilized in the next year. So considering the average payment per employee per day 100, this again company has estimated. Then in the next year, whatever we discussed that if 1 lakh in the current year after 3 years is going to be 1,30,000. So company has estimated that next year the company will be giving 100 rupees per day to the employees on an estimated salary basis. Okay. Considering the average payment per employee per day rupees 100 suggests the accounting treatment for the unused entitlement accumulated as at 31st December 2009. How many days did we discuss? 10 days. 10 days into this rupees 100,000. So 1,000 rupees expense company has to debit to P&L account as current year and show it as a liability. Why liability? Because employees are going to utilize it in the next year. Means in the current year amount paid is less than the benefit. So that is our liability. We discussed it. So what will you debit in P&L account in the current year? Whatever amount you have paid to the employees in current year plus 1,000 rupees. Whatever amount you have paid to the employees in the current year plus 1,000 rupees extra you will debit to P&L account. Why? Because that 1,000 rupees of leave belong to current year, but employee is expected to take it in the next year. It is an expense of current year. So whatever salaries you pay to the employees in current year plus rupees 1,000 you'll debit to P&L account, and that 1,000 rupees will be also shown on the liability side because employee is expected to take it in the next year. So write down this in your notebook. If the average payment per employee, this is your answer, okay? Theoretical answers are only there in this chapter, majority of them. If the average payment per employee per day is rupees 100, the firm should provide for a liability of rupees 1,000. How did we calculate this 1,000 of liability? Show the calculation. 100 into 10 employees, 10% employees, 10 employees. 10 employees into 1 day, 10 days. 10 days into 100 rupees of payment, 1,000. Therefore, expense on salaries and wages to be recognized in profit and loss account for the current year is the total of amount paid or payable for the current year, make it 2019, and rupees 1,000. Whatever amount you pay in the current year plus rupees 1,000 you'll debit to P&L account, and that 1,000 rupees you'll also show as liability. Okay, the rupees 1,000 is the provision for the additional amount to be paid in 2020, but as a result of unused entitlement accumulated as at 31st December 2019. So it is accumulating type of leave and non-vesting type of leave. So whatever is the estimated amount for the next year, that amount we debit to P&L account as well as show on the liabilities side. Why liability? Because it is unused and employee is going to use it in the next year. I hope everyone is clear with the answer of this. You can pause the video and you can write down this answer over here as it is shown on the screen, plus that calculations also. Further, look at question number 2 of your study material on the same page 21. Indigo Limited has a policy of allowing the employees to carry forward unused sick leave for another calendar year. Again, underline another calendar year and write short term. Means within 12 months only you can carry forward. It is given also, so it becomes short term compensated absences. Underline it is of vesting type, underline that. Now what did we discuss about vesting type? What did we discuss about vesting type? See, what did we discuss about vesting type? Only encashable component of salary is recorded. Do you all get this on the right side? So same way, if we go with this concept, only encashable amount is to be recorded. Then over here, if you see, at the end of 2020, Indigo Limited computed that 100 days of sick leave needs to be carried forward, which if encashed is expected to cost the company 40,000. Means if it is encashed, it is expected that company will have to pay 40,000 rupees cash for that. Should this amount be recognized as an expense of the year 2020? Yes, we discussed already. Whatever is encashable portion of the salary, even if it is expected to be taken in the next year, it belongs to current year. So you have to debit it on the accrual basis as an expense of current year. What should be done if the employee cannot take leave during the following year out of unused entitlements that have accumulated at the end of 2020? If the employee cannot take the leave, means we have done change in policies, then we will treat it as per accounting standard 5, which is change in accounting estimates. Okay, means right now we tell to the employee that you can take it in cash. Next year, if the company changes its accounting policy, the company changes its policy that you cannot withdraw it in cash, now forget that. Then the company has to account for it as per accounting standard 5, that is change in accounting estimates. Okay. So answer yes. For the first question, 40,000 should be recognized as an expense in the year 2020. Now second question, if the employee cannot take the leave during the following year, then it should be treated as change in accounting estimate and dealt with as per AS 5, which requires to consider the same while determining the profit or loss of the period in which such change takes place. Now here it is taking place in the next year. So such adjustment is to be done with the employee's benefits recognized for the year 2021. Why 2021? Because it will be taking place in the end of 2020. So we will be doing revised estimate and change in accounting estimate will be accounted in the year 2021. So all of you pause the video and write down this answer. Now going further, same page, look at question number 3. NT Limited has 1,000 employees. Each employee is entitled to 10 days casual leave each year. Unused casual leave lapses, underline the word lapses at the end of fiscal year. Lapses means non-accumulating. Underline the word lapses and write non-accumulating. Underline the word lapses and write non-accumulating. Suggest the accounting treatment for the same. What did we discuss? If it is non-accumulating, no provision is to be done. Forget it. Whatever expense you are paying for the current year will only be debited to P&L account. No extra amount is to be debited to P&L account. Forget it. Since it is non-accumulating type of leave, no other provision is to be created. So NT Limited is not required to calculate. Write this. The amount paid during the current year towards compensated absence casual leave, as it is already included in the total employees compensation presented in P&L account. Extra amount is not to be provided because it is non-accumulated. It lapses at the end of the year. Now look at question number 5. Question 4 is of a different type of question. It is not short-term employees questions. That we'll do later on. Okay, look at question 5, which is based on again short-term employees benefits. A profit sharing plan requires an enterprise to pay a specified proportion of its net profit for the year to the employees who serve throughout the year. Now this is like that condition I told you. If employee works for 5 years, then only you'll give him the bonus. Here the condition is if employee works throughout the year, then you give him bonus in the next year. If no employees leave during the current year, the total profit sharing payments for the year will be 5% of net profit. And the company estimates that some of the staff members may leave during the year. So if they leave during the year, they are not entitled to bonus. And thus the profit sharing payments will reduce to 4%. From 5%, because some of them will leave the organization, the payment will come down to 4%. So if the net profit of the enterprise is 20 crores, then calculate the amount to be recognized as a liability and expense. 20 crores, 4%. 20 crores, 4%. What will that be equal to 20 crores, 4%? 80 lakhs. 80 lakhs will be recorded as an expense and liability based on the estimate. Though that bonus we have to pay in the next year, you will debit it as an expense of current year. The enterprise should recognize as an expense and liability the amount of 20 lakhs into 4%, 80 lakhs. So today we have covered only first type of employee benefit, that is short-term employees benefits. And next lecture I'll be taking up with the combined second and third. What is second and third combined? I told you post-retirement benefits and long-term employees benefits. The accounting is same. So that portion I'm going to take up in the next lecture. That'll be all for this lecture. Bye everyone. Take care. See you in the next lecture.